Welcome. You're tuned into Tangled Threads. If you're digging our content, hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you. I've always considered myself a decently laid-back guy. Me and my wife Cheryl have been together for 15 years, and till recently I thought we were solid as a rock. We did the typical couple things: date nights, binge-watching TV shows, attending church together, the works. It was on one of our usual Sunday church visits that things started to unravel. The service that day was just great. I've got to hand it to Pastor Mike. He sure knows how to captivate an audience. As we were walking out, I was feeling pretty spiritually uplifted and ready to head home. Cheryl suddenly said she wanted to attend the after-church lunch. We had decided earlier that we'd skip it this week, so it caught me off guard. She seemed adamant, saying she changed her mind last minute. Since we'd come in my car, we hurried home so she could pick up her vehicle. After she left, I decided to tackle some overdue chores around the house. I'm no Mr. Clean, but once in a while I do get into the whole tidy-up spirit. But just when I was getting into the groove of it, I ran out of trash bags. Thinking I'd just run into town real quick, I hopped in my car. As I was driving, something odd caught my eye. Cheryl's car, parked outside a house I didn't recognize. Curious and confused, I pulled over to double-check. I peeked at our insurance cards and, yep, that was her plate number all right. I also noticed a realtor's sign on the lawn. Glancing at the name, a bell rang in my mind. The realtor was a familiar face from our church. Now I'm not a detective, but curiosity got the better of me. I quickly looked up the realtor's listings on my phone. And guess who was selling the house? My good old church buddy, Steven. The gears started turning. What was Cheryl's car doing there? Was this why she suddenly decided on the after-church lunch? Feeling both hurt and angry, a plan began to form. I decided I'd expose them at the next church gathering. Now, looking back, maybe I should have confronted Cheryl privately. But in that moment, the need for some poetic justice consumed me. The next church outing was at a fancy restaurant. Good food, good friends, and soon enough, some drama on the menu. After dinner, with everyone in a cheerful mood, I stood up, raising my glass for a toast. First, I'd like to thank our church community for being there for us. To Pastor Mike for his uplifting sermons. And of course to my dear friend Stephen, I said with a smirk, for keeping my wife so happy. The room fell silent. I could see the shock on Cheryl's face while Stephen looked like a deer caught in headlights. He tried to say something, but the murmurs and gasps around the room drowned him out. Without waiting for dessert, I made my exit, but not before handing a waitress $50 to deliver an envelope to Cheryl. That's right, I had the divorce papers ready. By the time I got home, Cheryl was right on my heels. She was in tears, begging me to hear her out, that it wasn't what it seemed. But my mind was made up. I had seen enough. Cheryl burst through the front door, the weight of the evening's events bearing down on her. Johnny sat in the living room, the space between them feeling like miles. "Johnny, babe, listen," Cheryl began, desperation evident in her voice. "You totally misunderstood everything. I mean, why'd you even make such a big scene without talking to me first?" Johnny looked at her, his eyes hardened. "Your car was at Stephen's place, Cheryl. What else was I supposed to think?" Cheryl rolled her eyes dramatically. "Oh my God, seriously? So if my car's there, you just jump to conclusions? Maybe I was just, I don't know, borrowing a cup of sugar or something." "You expect me to believe that?" Johnny's voice was filled with disbelief. "At a house that's for sale? And why would you lie about the after-church lunch?" She threw her hands up. "I don't know, okay? Maybe I wanted to buy a house. Things just happen. And besides, it's not like you're perfect either. Remember that time you forgot our anniversary?" "This isn't about our anniversary, this is about trust," Johnny countered. Cheryl huffed. "Trust? Please. Maybe if you trusted me more, you wouldn't be making up stories in your head." Johnny took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "Cheryl, you being at Stephen's place lying about lunch, it's not a story. It's what I saw." She sighed dramatically. "Whatever, Johnny. You always blow things out of proportion. But fine, believe what you want to believe." "I will, Cheryl, I will," I replied calmly. "God damn it!" Cheryl screamed as she left the house. Without another word, she stormed out of the house. I watched from the window as she angrily got into her car. The roar of the engine matched the rush of emotions inside me. I was still lost in my thoughts when I heard a loud crash. Rushing to the window, I saw Cheryl had backed straight into Mr. Thompson's prized apple tree. She looked flustered, glancing around to see if anyone had noticed. I couldn't help but think, maybe it was symbolic in some twisted way, both of us damaging things without intending to. She drove off without even checking the damage, leaving me standing there wondering if our relationship was as broken as that tree. It's been a week since that night, and Cheryl and I haven't exchanged a word. The silence has been deafening. The house feels different, emptier. Every corner reminds me of the chaos and confusion of that day. The upcoming Sunday looms over me, a heavy weight on my chest. How am I going to face everyone at church after what happened? The whispers, the pitying glances. I'm not sure I'm ready for any of it. Sometimes I catch myself wondering if Cheryl feels the same. But for now, I'm left with the deafening silence and the looming dread of the next Sunday service. Update. All right, folks, sit tight. 'Cause boy, do I have an update for y'all. The saga with Cheryl didn't end at that embarrassing dinner. Nope, it's like a bad soap opera that just keeps rolling. Remember how I mentioned Cheryl getting Pastor Mike on her side? Well, she must have really had a talk with him because this dude started some real crazy talk. Out of nowhere, during one of his sermons, he hinted that I might be under the influence of a dark spirit. Yep, he basically said I had a demon inside of me. Can you believe that? Of all the things I was bracing myself for, being called a demon was not on the list. So imagine my surprise when people from church, folks I've known for years, started treating me like I was the devil himself. Every trip to the store, every outing became a challenge. Some would just throw me judgmental glances or avoid me, while others were more direct. Like Mrs. Peters, who said she'd light a candle for my salvation. And don't get me started on Mrs. Jenkins. That woman threw holy water on me while I was in the middle of the produce section. I was just trying to pick out some tomatoes. But the worst part? My phone blowing up with texts and calls. Messages about saving my soul, links to exorcism services. You name it. It felt like I was being bombarded from all sides. Enough was enough. I decided to get legal on them. I spoke to a lawyer, and now I'm in the process of taking a few of them, including Pastor Mike, to court for harassment. They gotta learn they can't just spread wild accusations and get away with it. Oh, and for those curious about the whole divorce deal, the court saw right through Cheryl's theatrics. Judge must have had a good day because he ruled in my favor, and guess what? No alimony for her. At least that's one headache out of the way. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. It's wild, it's exhausting, but I'm pushing through. If you've got any advice or been through something similar, let me know. Peace out, everyone. Holy fucking shit. What the hell was this? Isn't adultery a sin? Not that we necessarily need the Bible to know that, but I digress. Anyways, what do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. When you subscribe, click the notification bell. Click here for more Tangled threads.